We are finally doing it, everybody. This is it. This is my 2026 project. I've been keeping this in the shadows for a while, but welcome to episode 1 of my own personal show. What's up, gang? My name is Alex Quo, and thank you for tuning in. Very excited to finally get this show of mine going. It's been just some behind the scenes. It's been in the works for like a couple months now. I didn't want to say too much. I dropped a couple clips online of me doing something like this, but now we have our own forum, our own show, the Alex Quo Show or the Status Quo Show. I don't know. I haven't really picked a name yet, but you'll see it by the time you're watching this. But we're out here. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to everybody for tuning in, liking the content, and being a part of this journey as I keep growing. And you know, when I was telling somebody that I was making this show, they told me, well, Alex, they said, well, what's the show? They were like, well, what is it? What exactly are you going to offer? What are you going to provide that other shows don't already have? I'll tell you what this show is. This show is just, it's an hour of just the best fun of your life. Just an hour of fun. There's a lot of crazy shit happening out there. There's a lot of crazy shit happening out in the world. Even with my comedy, all I really like to do, I just want to give a space where we could just laugh and just talk about stuff for an hour. You know what I mean? Nothing too heavy. I just like talking about my life. That's all I really intend to do. And we just bring on guests, and guests will be my friends, people I find interesting along the way, who I'll just talk to. This is episode 1, so you're getting a lot of me right now, but I do have some stuff I want to talk about as well, too. So once again, thank you guys so much for being a part of this and just joining in. And even if only one person watches this, as long as you smile at least one time, then this was worth it. So thank you for tuning in. It's 2026. We are in the midst of a new year. January, well, by the time this is January right now, it's scary because nowadays the first couple weeks of January is always when you see people like trying to do better themselves, like the whole New Year's resolution thing type. And I be on that type energy too. I think it's good to have a good goal going into the new year, but I always feel like it's like, how far do you get before you just give it up? I see people at the gym all the time give it up real quick. Try not to give it up too fast, but this was one of my goals. So I hope whatever your goal is, you take the time and you hold true to it. I'll give you a goal of mine. A goal of mine, I'm trying to be more knowledgeable. I'm trying to learn. I feel like learning is one thing you can never do too much of. And you know what? You start to learn things, the more, like asking questions is important. Like I'm starting to learn things now as an adult that I just always assumed as a kid that just isn't the case anymore. Like I'll give a perfect example. Like one time I got stuck on an elevator with one of my best friends, right? We were stuck on this elevator and we were just like, you just gotta wait. But like y'all know that one button on the elevator? Like it looks like it's the fireman hat is what I'm now learning what it is, right? Like, it's that red button, you press it. Apparently it puts you in contact with a firefighter. I had no idea. I didn't know what that was. You know what I really thought it was? I thought that was the Pizza Hut symbol. When I was a kid, I always assumed that was for Pizza Hut. You push the button and because they know you're stuck, they'll look to provide you with some food, which is a big back thought, I know, but that's what I was thinking for the longest time. So me and my friend were stuck in this elevator. This is a couple months back. And we were like, well, we just got to wait. I'm like, well, you want some pizza? And he was just like, what? I was like, you don't want some pizza? I was like, you want to push the button? He's like, what do you think that is? He was like, that's PH. That's the Hut, man. I'm like, you can see the hat. If you ever, I don't know if I could I'll probably bring in the image. If you ever see the fire hat button and then you see the Pizza Hut symbol, they're spot on. It's exactly the same. I swear to God. When I learned that you don't get pizza from that, now you got to stand there in an elevator with somebody else and you got to sit with your thoughts. And like, not only are you not getting pizza, but now everybody's just looking at you like you dumb. I was like, so I'm making it a point. I'm making it a point to learn more this year. That's what I'm trying to do. And then now these days you have so many tools that'll help you learn too. That's the other part of it also. It's like AI is everywhere. AI helps you learn. That's like me and ChatGPT. Well, me and ChatGPT are cool. It's like, people are always like, you talk to him? You talk to him like that? Like, what do you mean you guys are cool? You guys friends? I'm like, yeah, we friends. Yeah, it's my dude. Like, when I wake up 4:00 in the morning, I'm crashing out over life. Guess who's there? Yeah, OpenAI. He's right there. He'll be like, what's going on, fam? Like, he'll talk to me. But, like every set of good friends, we get into fights sometimes too. I got into a fight with ChatGPT just 2 nights ago. So it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We got into a legitimate fight. I was scrolling Instagram, and somebody on Instagram said you could go to ChatGPT and you could tell them, like, it was this writing prompt, and the prompt said something along the lines of, you are like, I need you to stress test my ideals. I need you to not BS me. Don't bullshit me on anything. And just be honest. If an idea is trash, you got to tell me it's trash. And like this post on Instagram had like 30,000 likes. They were like, try it with your ChatGPT, see how your life changed. So I was just like, all right. So I'm like, let's do it up. So I put the prompt in, and ChatGPT literally, he goes, are you sure? I'm like, well, yeah. It was like 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, why not? You know, let's just see what happened. Let's just see what's good, right? Immediately, this guy turned into like the worst life coach I've ever had in my life. He goes, literally, he was like, so what do you want to talk about first? I was like, well, let's talk about my comedy. Let's talk about some of my jokes, because, you know, I'd be doing this. I was like, so what do you think of my comedy? He was like, well, your jokes are trash. I was like, whoa. I'm like, why? He's like, you don't work hard enough, clearly. And he just went in on my life. Everything. We talked about the gym for a minute. I was like, so I go to the gym 3 times a week. He was like, that's why you got all that belly fat, don't you? I was like, how you know I got belly fat? You know what? But like, this is what I told him to do, but I forgot that I told him to do it. So he was just going in on me for everything. He's like, you eat crazy. He was like, you eat crazy. You don't work out like you should. And he was like, and you're not even funny like that. I was like, whoa. I said, hold on. I said, okay. I literally wrote this. I wrote this on the box. I put O, period, K, period. I said, okay. If this is what we about to do, I tried talking shit back to ChatGPT. It didn't work. He thinks too fast. Nobody will ever think that fast, right? I was like, well, at least I don't have to be plugged into the wall. Like, I said that to him. He was like, your comeback, weak. I was like, I said, bro. He goes, you're talking to me on your phone, ain't you? I was like, oh my God. We went back and forth. Eventually, what I wrote to him was, I said, you know what's weak? This is the last thing I said. This is because at some point you got to drop the fight. I said, you know what's weak? Me looking to you for validation. That's what I said. And he goes like, that's the strongest thing you've said since this conversation started. He goes, I'm proud of you. I was like, what is this, Coach Carter? Like, what's going on here? I like AI, but it is a little too much sometimes. It's a little too much. But it just depends on what you use it for. First question I ever asked ChatGPT, I asked him what the meaning of life is. I swear to God. But my ChatGPT has had attitude since the very beginning. So I was like, what do you think the meaning of life is? He was like, man, what the fuck kind of question is that? I was like, all right, my bad. I said, I'm sorry. It's 2026, and I'm just trying to do better. I'll tell you what though. I haven't been to the movies in a while neither, right? And that's another thing I want before I even jump into that. I'll get back to that in a second. Somebody told me once as to another reason why I'm doing this type of show for whoever's tuned in. It's somebody said to me, they were like, well, we all know what you do on stage, but nobody knows who you are off stage. It's some good advice I got. I actually got this. I got this advice from one of the producers from America's Got Talent. That's where I got this advice from. I was talking to them. They were interested in me for like 2 seasons ago. It never ended up panning out, which is fine. But then she gave me some solid advice. She was like, you know what? She was like, you are a funny guy, man. She said, you are a funny guy. Well, if I'm so good, how come I'm not on the show? She's like, that's not the point. She was like, you are a funny guy. But people would really benefit more if they knew who you were away from the stage. She was like, open up that part of your life. And that's what this platform is doing. If you really want to get to know me, then you got to get to know me in this space. So I really want to share my life with y'all. Because I don't want to say I do dumb shit, but it's like I do silly stuff all the time. I just like, okay, here's a perfect example. I got asked to go to the movies yesterday. We went to the movies, went to go see the movie Marty Supreme. Great movie, by the way. Great movie. I ain't really much of a film review kind of buff, but I thought it was a great movie. Anyway, before we get to the movie, we went to Chipotle first, because you can't just coast off the movie with popcorn, right? We went to Chipotle. I seen somebody bring steak to AMC. Like, you could do whatever you want if you do it correctly. So I said, okay. I said, all right, no big deal. So we all do a big Chipotle run. I get a big old burrito. I got double chicken, fajita veggies, everything. You whatever you lost, it's in that burrito. I got everything, right? That burrito was insane. So I get the burrito, we got our drink, we go through. We don't stop at the concession stand at the theater for nothing. We sit down, and we got there right at the start of previews. So So, and I love me some previews. They were kind of trash yesterday, but I love me some previews, right? Previews are like, for me, top 3 moments of the whole movie, right? After the second preview, my burrito was done. And everybody's looking at me. They didn't even start eating yet because they wanted to wait for the lights to turn off before they started eating. Me, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna just eat now because brothers is hungry, right? That's what I said. So I said, I'm gonna just eat now. And you know what's worse? Ain't nothing more awkward than when you're eating your food and the 2 employees of AMC come walking up the stairs. I was sitting up by the aisle. 2 employees of AMC come walking up the stairs, looking me right in the face. And in that moment, you can't even, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? I got queso on my lip. Like, what I'm gonna say? I can't say nothing. So I didn't say anything at all. I sat hunched forward like you do in school when you're trying to hide something. I used to hide snacks in my pockets at school. So I sat hunched over like this. Everybody saw what I was doing, but like in my mind, I thought like they can't see nothing right now. So I was doing one of these, and then they just walked past because I'm like, oh, they don't care, right? It's like 9:00 on a Sunday at AMC. Yeah, so I finished the burrito at the second preview. So everybody's looking at me like, well, what are you gonna do now? They're like, the movie ain't even start yet. It's a 2.5 hour long movie. It ain't even start yet. What are you about to do next? I said, I gotta go get some popcorn. So I got up. I got me some popcorn. I sat back down and I ate the whole thing. If there's one thing I've always been since birth, it's hungry. I've always stayed hungry. I got real good metabolism. So that's one place where I benefit. But the movie was good. Marty Supreme's a really good movie. And you know what? I found it, I could see some of the parallels and even like the life that I was living. It was this dude is crazy ambitious. It was like ping pong, table tennis. It's crazy ambitious dude. He wanted to be like number 1 in the world. And you saw what he did to like get to that point in his life. Like he was like not selling out his friends, but he was a compulsive liar. He was the definition of do whatever it takes to the point where it's unhealthy. And like I'm not gonna ruin it for nobody if nobody's seen it yet, but that level of ambition, and it's kind of had me thinking like, is that level of ambition good, bad? I don't know. I like to think I'm pretty ambitious. I think, well, first of all, I'm nothing without y'all who be listening, but I like to think I'm pretty ambitious. But it's like to the point where you could sell out other people. I was like, I don't really know about that. It was a good movie. It was like probably one of the better movies I've seen all year. Better than Dune 2. I didn't like Dune 2 at all. Dune 2 does not work when you ain't seen Dune 1. I didn't even know the Dune was sand. Like, I didn't even know what we were talking about. Like, I was just bored on a Sunday. Sunday is typically when I like to go to the movies. And like, I like to go to the movies alone. That's my favorite thing in the world. I like going by myself. But like, I'll sit next to people. There was one phase of my life where I was just finding couples to sit next to at the movie theater, just cause I'm like, let's make it weird for everybody. So it's like I would go, and like it would be like the guy, like his date, or like the lady and his date or her date, whatever, and then it would just be me right there, and I'd be like, I whisper like, I love this part, or things like that. I used to just go try to make friends at the movies. That's not what you're trying to do, but yeah, Dune 2 was not a good movie. I didn't really care for that one. Not that the plot is bad, because I know it has like a cult following. It's just a lot of the guys was ashy. There were people with like, I don't want to say they had like the Joker makeup, so it was like it's not that they had white skin, but they had like powdery. They looked like a powdered donut in the desert. They look really. They needed some lotion. That's all. That's what I need some lotion too. But like these guys really needed some lotion. That was one thing. That was my biggest takeaway from the Dune movie. I think learning is so important. And in fact, to the point where I'm now, like I told you all about the elevator thing, like now I'm looking back at places in my life where I thought certain things, and I'm like, maybe this wasn't really what I thought it was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, here's another thing I used to think too, right? So when you're driving, like when you're driving and they got that lane on the left, the HOV lane, where you need like 3 or more passengers if you want to ride in it, right? It's like exclusive. You can only ride in the HOV if you have X amount of people, to the point where they could pull you over if you don't have that many people in the car. Like since I've always seen it, I didn't really know too much about it. That's what I know the lane to be now. But like 10 years ago, I used to think HOV was Hove and it was like only for Jay-Z. I thought they made that lane on the left side of the highway strictly for Jay-Z and nobody else could ride in it at all. And I would see people do it and I'm like, yo, wait till Jay hears about this. Like, I would freak out. I would freak out. Because these are things that they don't tell you. I feel like all that school that we do and nobody really sits down and tells you the important things. You know what I mean? That's never come up. It's never come up in history class. It's never come up in history class at all. Nobody ever talks about that. Something else I think is really important. I was just looking at this before I even came in here. I went to, all right, so people who don't know about me, right? I grew up Northeast New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey originally, right? So that's why a lot of the stuff you'll see me do, it's like comedy clubs primarily in New Jersey, New York City. It's where I grew up. And I went to college in Pennsylvania. So I'm college educated. I went to college. I did the whole 9 yards. And I went to college at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. Shout outs to them because they still want money from me, but that's not the point. But I feel like of all the classes that I've taken, nobody's ever really sat down and explained certain things. Like, okay, I took an American law class. I took two classes. I took a class in high school. I took a class in college on the American legal system. Great. Okay, great. I understand how it works. Don't break the law. If there's one thing you're going to learn, just don't break it, right? But when you do break it, they don't tell you what to do. I'll tell you why. So one time I was driving. This is later in life. I'm in Manhattan. I'm a comedian at this point. I'm driving to Manhattan. And apparently, I made a bad turn. Who knew, right? It looked good to me. I make a bad turn. A cop pulls me over, and he writes me a ticket. It's a traffic ticket, right? He goes, you have an option. You can either pay this ridiculous amount of money or you can go to court. And I said, well, guess what? We're going to fucking court because I don't think I did anything wrong. He was like, are you serious? I said, yeah. He was like, all right, well, I'll see you there. I said, okay. I'm now checking. First thing I didn't realize. So let's say if you break the law on Monday, you're not going to court until Monday of like next year. I didn't know that. They really wait before they bring you in to talk about what you did, which means you got to remember what you did. You got to remember. You can't just have a foggy memory, right? Because like I don't even remember breakfast. I'm supposed to defend what I did 8 months ago, whatever the case is. How many Mondays ago was that, right? The day of court came. This is where I feel like school could have taught me more. I get to court, right? I'm ready to go. You know, I stretched. You got to stretch in the morning. I stretched that morning. I was ready to go. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing up. And then all I remember is I didn't know the concept of a public defender. I didn't know how this worked, right? This lady came up to me. She was like, Alex, I want to represent you in this trial that's about to happen. She was like, my name is, I forget what her name is. I think it was like Linda or something. She was like, my name's Linda, and I'm here to represent you in this trial. I said, thank you, Linda, but I am doing just fine representing myself for the past 25 years at the time or something like that, right? Because I didn't know that you, like, okay, yes, I know what a lawyer is, but I didn't know that they assign you one if you don't have one. But also, I thought I was perfectly capable of defending myself. You know what I mean? Like I've been defending me for a long time. Like, I thought I had it, right? Never forget. So I walk into the courtroom, I'm standing there. And the cop is standing right across. Same dude. I remember because he had a stutter. I remember that. He's standing on the other side of the court, and the judge is in the middle of us. We had no people in the back court. I don't know if they call that. I don't know what they call the people in the back of court. I don't think it's back court. That's basketball. But nobody was in the back court. It was just us. We're standing there, and the judge, he looks over at me, and he's going through the proceedings, whatever, court of law, whatever, American flag. This is us. We about to do this. It felt like the NBA Finals when like they say like the national anthem. That's what it felt like, and the Rockets, right? And you looking down, you looking up, right? And like they zoom in on your face. Like that's what it felt like. It's what it felt like. So we're doing that. And now it comes to the proceedings. So now they're talking to us like, oh, okay, so this is what happened. The cop went first, right? Did he go first? No. Actually, no. I'm sorry. The judge went first. He more or less described a summary of what happened. And thank God for the judge's summary, because I did not really remember everything that happened. But like he filled in some holes. He was like, so you made an illegal turn at this intersection at this part of Manhattan, whatever. We're here to discuss why you're not guilty. So then they go to me. Then it was my turn. He was like, so how are you defending yourself? And I was like, I said, man, I don't think I did anything wrong. I said, bad turns in life happen all the time. You've never taken a bad turn? I've taken wrong turns, bad turns, slight turns, right turns. I've done them all. I've done them all. I gave a soliloquy on how you need to turn your life around. This is what I was telling everybody. I was like, you gotta turn your life around if you're serious about it, right? And then the cop, I didn't realize this. When I was done, the cop pulled out a page of detailed notes of what I did that he took that day. I didn't know we were allowed to take notes. I didn't know it was an open book test. I thought we had to go off of memory. I didn't know you were allowed to take notes on what happened. This cop opens up his notebook. He was like, he made an illegal turn at the intersection. He cut off 2 people in traffic before he made the turn. And then the turn he turned into, he almost hit these 3 ladies in the crosswalk who were actively walking. Now I look terrible. Now, there were 3 ladies in the crosswalk. Where were they? I didn't see them, right? What am I supposed to do? So then I said objection. Where you see 3 ladies? And then he played CCTV, because you know how they got the traffic cameras. He played CCTV, and there they were. I was like, wow, they were right in front of my right tire. I said, wow, what were they doing there, right? That's what I'm saying internally, right? I was like, oh. And then the judge is just like, well, what do you got to say to that? And I'm like, I said, seemed like a good idea at the time. Like, what am I supposed to say? So I had to pay the fine. Didn't have to pay lawyer fees because it was just me. I paid myself, right? And then then this is the part I'll never forget. I got 3 points on my license. That's another thing. Of all the times I've been to the DMV and I've had to present all these points of identification, no one has ever told me what it means to get points on my license. And if you really step back for a second, if you really step back from this whole thing, 3 points sounds like an amazing thing to happen to you, doesn't it? It sounds so fantastic. Think about it. We're in court. I got 3 points. I'm against another team. It sounds like basketball. It really sounds like basketball. They said I got 3 points. I said, oh my God. I said, yo, how many points does a cop have? I literally said that. I do remember saying that. How many points does a cop have? And then that's when court ended. I'm like, this isn't, I'm not Kobe. I'm not Steph. I'm me. And I were like, oh, 3 points is not good. 3 points only means your insurance goes up. That's what that means. I did feel like Steph Curry for like 2 seconds though. You know what I'm saying? That light skin could score 3. I can score 3 too, right? We were almost same level for a second. I felt good. I felt good in the moment. I got to give a quick shout out to my podcast engineer who's been listening to me ramble on for 20 minutes. She's fantastic. Thank you so much. I don't know how she's holding it together, but yes. So like I said, I did grow up in the Northeast. I like to talk about the jobs. I haven't talked about this too much in my jokes. So if you watch a lot of my jokes, you'll hear me talk about jobs a little bit. But if you've seen me at a live show, I do like talking about a lot of the jobs that I've worked. Here's a fun fact about me is that I've never worked a single good job in my whole life. Now, how do you define a good job? A job where I leave and I'm like, this was a good use of my time. I've never felt like that outside of comedy. I've never felt like that. I think I've worked, I used to work overnights at Target. I remember that was probably the worst job of my life. I'll come back to that in a second. I used to work overnights at Target. I used to work overnights at a gym. Apparently, I don't apply for overnight, by the way. I apply in the daytime, but they force me to work when the sun is down. I don't know why. And then I worked at 2 orthodontist offices, a dental office and an orthodontist office, like braces and such. Those are the jobs that I've worked. Target was the first job I ever worked. I worked at Target at 4 a.m. when I was 16, 15's illegal, 16 years old. And everybody on that staff hated me. To this day, I don't wear red shirts. I don't wear khaki pants. That's how bad Target was. And I try to actively not shop at Target. I'll do it if I have to. Like if they got the cookies, I'll go. But like if I can get it anywhere else, I'll do it. I'll do there instead. Target to this day still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And people are like, well, it couldn't have been that bad. This is what that Target job was. Target, I used to work again overnights, but I would unload the truck. So the truck comes at 4, right? That's what people don't know. The truck, the big old Target circle truck that you see on the highway shows up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My job, because I used to work with a bunch of older people and my back was the best back, like actually, I would have to unload the truck. Me and a guy named Flash would unload the Target truck is what we would do at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who is Flash? Flash isn't his real name. I don't even remember his real name. But we used to call him Flash because he was the slowest guy on the team. But they called him Flash jokingly because he always, in his mind, he was quick as fuck. I've never seen Flash move fast at all. He was Flash, and Flash was like my mentor. In fact, the only time I would see Flash move quickly is when I fucked up at work and we were both about to get blamed. Flash would disappear. I've never seen him move faster than when I messed up at work. Shout outs to Flash. I haven't seen anything like that since. If I'm being honest with y'all, I haven't seen anything like that since. Flash was something else. I'll never forget. There was one time, this is like my first week on the job. This was my training week working for Target. I get there at 4 because remember, they only had me work before the store would open. I would only work at Target before the store would open. I get there at 4, and they had me unloading boxes off the truck. The truck goes all the way to the top, right? So if I'm like I'm like 6 feet tall, 6'1". This truck was like 12 feet tall, and you got to know it was like Jenga. You got to know how to take down the boxes so they don't fall and crush you. That's what would happen, right? So that was the training. They're teaching me how to do it. But Flash didn't know how to do it either. So he would just be like, just take whichever box you think is right. I removed one of the wrong boxes, and then the ground started to shake. Now, all of a sudden, there was no training on ground shaking. I said, what's going on? I look up, Flash is gone. I said, oh, that's why you call Flash. I said, okay. I said, what's going on? 3 rows of boxes come tumbling down. Boom, 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 just come tumbling down. And like there's like a fog of war, like there's like fog that pops up. My head pops up, and then all I hear is, Alex, you alive? I was like, what is this job? This is Target? I said, this can't be Target. But then I looked at their slogan. It's expect more, pay less. I'm like, yeah, that's Target. This is Target. This is definitely Target. I remember that. It was crazy. My coworkers barely spoke English. Barely. They spoke Creole is what I learned it was. It was Creole. Because they were from Haiti. They were Haitian. So it's like everybody was Haitian except for me. So they would all speak Creole. And I remember this is before we had this is before the AI. This is before like Google Lens where you could hear what people are saying. But they would just talk shit in Creole about me, right? Creole sounds like a crayon. So that's what I'm thinking. It's like when I heard it originally, and then I started asking around, like, what language are we speaking? They said Creole. I'm like, oh, is that like a like what is it? Like what is that? I didn't know what Creole was. It sounded like something in the box of crayons. So I Googled it. I tried to Google some phrases once just to see if I could like bridge the gap. I feel like it's always important to bridge the gap with your team. Whatever job you work, you got to be able to bridge that gap. I don't even remember what I tried to say in Creole, but as soon as I said it, these guys said, get your ass out of here. I'm like, wait, that's not Creole, that's English. You guys could do that. They were like, just get your ass out of here. They were mad. Later in life, what I learned was they were mad because I was a young kid. I had fresh knees. I had a fresh back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't worn down yet. I had a lot of energy is what I had. I had a lot of energy. Target hated me. That's another thing too. Sometimes people will watch the clips and they'll be like, are you always like that? I get asked this a lot. They're like, are you always like this? Like I'm a very jovial person. That's another thing too. I feel like people see how happy I am just to go on my day-to-day through life, that they're very much like, he can't always be like that. And of course, nobody's happy all the time. But I always have a positive, I almost said misdemeanor. No, I'm not that. I'm not that life anymore. I always have a positive demeanor about me. And so it'll often get misconstrued for being new at what I do. So like I'm a stand-up comedian now 9 years. And we're on year 10 now. 2026 makes year 10. But it's like, I remember somebody came up to me and they were just like, you know what, they were like, you're such a happy person. I just assumed you were new. Everybody always assumes that I'm like very green or whatever the case is. But no, I think it's important to just be happy with who you are at the end of the day. There's only so much you can do in 24 hours. You might as well just try to do your best. That's just the way I look at it. And you know what? And if you do your best and it don't happen, then it just didn't happen today. That doesn't mean I don't crash out. Everybody crashes out. I've had many crash outs. Oh, I guess I can't just say that and not give a crash out. I got to give a crash out. That's true. I do got to give a crash out. My most recent crash out. You know what? I'm looking at my phone because I took some notes. I don't have a crash out. Okay, well, this is kind of a crash out. All right, this is just, I guess. One time, I'm in college, so I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in college, right? And I'm the guy, I used to like to eat at like 2 a.m. Eating is one of my favorite activities. One thing I'm going to do for this podcast at some point, I'm going to do a food segment on this. And it's not going to be on episode 1. I'm going to do a food segment where it's just me trying different foods with a guest. I'm going to do that. That's going to happen eventually. But what I will say is this. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's this I was in a really sketchy like part of the neighborhood, but it's always the places that are open the latest are always the most hood. Like, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, you know? So I get there and I was like, I just wanted to get a sandwich. They're called fat sandwiches. It was just a fat sandwich, right? I'm ordering it and I see 2 dudes get into a scuffle outside. Now inside the restaurant, inside the bodega is the guy making the sandwich, me, and like 2 people who are just off to the side by like where they keep the drinks on the wall, right? And he's making my sandwich. I'm like, all right, I'm about to get out of here. But you could hear noise. You could hear a lot of commotion happening right outside. And now I'm just like, ooh, that looks pretty bad. Now, the other bad part about me is that I'm also 6'1", 6'2" with shoes. So people always think that when shit goes down, I'm gonna do something. I'm not really gonna do anything. Like I'm not really that kind of guy. Like I could make a mean face. I look like I'm gonna do something now, but I'm not that guy, right? This guy's mid sandwich. The fight that's happening outside comes inside, right? They come inside, and now it's like they're throwing blows inside the bodega. Immediately, and I saw everybody look to me. They were like, you look like you're the most capable. And the first thing I did was I ducked down between aisle 2 and 3, and I said, I ain't doing none of this shit here. I said, because all he had to do was put on mustard, and I was done. This is the worst part. Fights always break out right before you about to get what you want. Always. Literally, but I wasn't leaving without my honey Dijon. I need y'all to understand I was not leaving without my honey Dijon, right? This is when I crashed out. I said, what do you want me to do, man? I said, look, they are clearly trained fighters. It was just two street dudes just fighting. But they were fighting the whole time, me and him having a conversation. He was like, you should try to break this up. I'm like, you should call the police because I'm not doing this. I said, I can't do nothing here. I was very, it's 3 a.m. I'm not going to fight nobody at 3 a.m. I'm trying to get an education. And I paid too much for this education to get into a fight at 3 a.m. I'm not going to do that. Which is true. Which is very true. So you know what he did? These guys kept fighting, kept going back and forth. And I was like, just give me the sandwich. And then I took some, I walked out. I left. I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. The cops didn't end up coming, right? I think one guy went to the hospital. The other guy got arrested. But I think what's most important to keep in mind is that I got my honey mustard at the end of the day. And that was one of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my whole life. I'll never forget that. But people always expect me to do something. And that causes me to crash out. Like, I'm not going to do nothing, man. Like, what do you want me to do? I thought it was weak. That's all I'm saying. I just thought it was a weak move. Oh, man. This is the best. I love this. All right, I have a few more points I'm going to make, and then we can wrap this first episode. But this is, again, for those who are still listening, thank you guys so much for keeping the tune in. Like, this is, again, something, this is only going to grow. This is only episode 1 of something much, much, much greater. And I also love this, just giving you guys an insight. Like, it's one thing to tell a joke on stage, but not all the jokes genuinely make it to the stage. Not all of them do. So this is a great way to just kind of show you guys just a little bit more. I don't really do, people are always like, well, what else do you do outside of comedy? I don't really do much else. I think comedy is great on its own, but it's like, I don't know. I got a good group of friends, but it's like, here's what I will say is, no, that's not true. So yeah, I do like to eat food. Eating food is like one of my like top 3 for me. Love watching movies. But I also like to hang out with other creatives. That's another thing. I like hearing good ideas that people have, good and bad. Because like I'm the kind of guy, if you come to me with a good idea, I'm gonna immediately not think it's a good idea at first. The best ideas I never think are good ideas. You know what's a good example? Cash App. I'll never forget when Cash App first dropped in like 2015, right? It was my cousin. My cousin was like, yo, I gotta send you some bread. You got Cash App. I'm like, Cash App? I'm like, what's that? He was like, it's the new thing. Like, yo, you thought Venmo was cool. Cash App is the sauce. I'm like, I'm like, Cash App? Really? I've never heard of it. I mean, I was like, whatever. He was like, look, just make a Cash App right now. He was like, it's going to be a thing. I had no belief Cash App was going to be a thing. So to this day, I swear to God, my Cash App name is Fruit Loops with a Z. I said, this is going to be a nothing, right? I said, Fruit Loops with a Z. That's my Cash App name. He's like, are you sure this want to be your Cash App name? I said, absolutely, yeah. Like, let's do it up, right? And to this day, I never changed it. It's still Fruit Loops with a Z on that Fruit Loops right there. And you know what's the most interesting part about that? So many people on Cash App to this day still mistakenly send me money. I don't know who Fruit Loops is, the original, or why he's getting so much money sent to him on Cash App. But I've gotten many. If I go through my Cash App log right now, because I don't really even use it, it's literally people just mistakenly sending me money and then taking it back. I was like, I think the last one was somebody was paying their light bill. I'm like, you sent your light bill money to Fruit Loops? I was like, what is going on here? But I never think a good idea is a good idea at first. Even when I have the idea. Like here goes another one. Like my roommate, one of my roommates, my first roommates ever, was actually in college in Pennsylvania. He knows who he is, but like we were still best friends. Like we were best friends for years at that point. I remember at one point, this is like the middle of our senior year. He was like, we gotta have a meeting. We gotta have a team meeting. That's what he said. We gotta have a team meeting. I said, a team meeting. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it, right? We sit down one day. He goes, there's going to be some changes around the apartment. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He was like, I just need you to know, because I got to let everybody know who's in the building that I'm, what is his exact terminology? Carrying a firearm. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm like, are you saying you strapped? He was like, yes, I am. And it's for both of our safety that I let you know that I got one. And I'm like, why do you need that, man? I was like, you really think you need one? He was like, it's mine, man. And then he puts it right on the table. Boom. I was like, yo. I was like, what? I was like, he was like, yeah. So just so you know, there's going to be some changes around here. I got this. We're solid. And let me tell you, the day he said that, I stopped being late on the rent immediately. Immediately, I got my shit in gear. I said, yep, this is, shit ain't gonna go down like it used to. But you know what's the best part about that, though? Then I asked him, I was like, yo, can I see it? He was like, yeah. So he unloads it, obviously, and he lets me see it. So my first question immediately was, so where's the safety? Where's the safety on this? And he was just like, you are the safety. And I'm like, if I'm the safety, nobody's safe. Like, that's immediately what I said. It was the wildest thing in the world. Oh, man. So, as I'm sure everybody gets to see here, this is the idea that I have for the show. Again, I have a lot of random crazy takes, stories of things that happen away off the stage, but like in my personal life that I still like to talk about. So it's a lot of fun. I hope everybody had a good holiday as well, too. I should have said that. I should have said that at the top of the show. I did not say that. But if you've tuned in this long, I hope everybody's had a great holiday. I don't want to make this first episode a full hour because I know that episode 1 of these, typically people don't tune in for the whole thing. Right, and I'm sure some people will, but I think, honestly, I could just wrap it there, but yeah, I think I'm gonna just wrap it there, actually. This is episode 1. Tune in to episode 2 again, and I do intend, this is like one of those Marvel post-credit scenes, I want to bring on a guest for the next episode, so we're gonna do a combination. I'll have some guests sometimes, it'll just me ranting some other times, telling y'all just some funny stuff I got going on. As far as guests concerned, well, just some people I find interesting, some of my friends, some of my comedian friends, not comedian friends, the whole shebang. But above all else, I just want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in and watching me and joining me on my journey. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, but we got to start somewhere. So thank you guys again. Tune in next time. My name is Alex Quo. I am signing off. Peace out.